Hi, and welcome to another episode of Haltech Heroes. Today we're here with Benny, the mechanical Stig, and his Nissan Stagea, the double unicorn. So Benny, we're here with your Nissan Stagea. Most people will know it from the Mighty Car Mods builds, where a lot of work's gone into this thing over the last, 12 months? Something like that?
9 months, yeah, it took.
It's been described as the double unicorn, and that's what everyone knows it by. Like, what does that mean?
So the reference is actually to the factory Nissan badge. So this is the factory badge for a C34 Stagea.
Yeah, right. And you can see on the front, it's actually got 2 unicorns on that crazy Japanese badge.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Probably the only other interesting thing on the front, the number plate, VH41.
Yeah, surprisingly not many people have picked that or the badge as either reference. So.
Yeah, right, so it's obviously VH41 is the V8 engine that you've put in it.
Yeah.
All right, well let's crack the bonnet, have a bit of a look and see what you've been doing to it. Wow, that's a seriously packed engine bay. So the first thing that I notice is that the intake manifold, is that stock on a VH41?
It's basically stock. We have modified it a little bit, so we've moved the throttle body to the other side and created a vacuum bank on the other side where the throttle body used to be.
Right, it almost looks like a front-wheel drive plenum, but obviously the motor is north-south. Just seems on this particular setup very unusual.
Yeah, I think the reason they did this sort of east-west configuration, the manifold, is to get a longer runner length. On an NA motor, it's fairly important, but being turbo now, it's probably not as vital, but we just stuck with the stock manifold because it does work.
Of course, it looks really nice. And I notice here, nice electronic throttle body on the front of it. Where'd you get that from?
It is LS derived. I'm not sure exactly which LS engine it's from, but it is a GM product.
Moving over to the business side, you've got the Go Fast Bits wastegate straight into the rear housing.
Yeah, so we've got a
turbo
EX50 external gate on that. It is still a split pulse housing, but we've done it in a point in the housing where it won't actually still cross over.
Yeah, I really like that. It's a good idea. It gives you really good boost control when you've got the wastegate right onto the exhaust housing like that.
And it's a pretty compact package. I mean, below the turbo, there's zero real estate to put a gate, so it was that was where it was going to have to go anyway. When
you talk about no space or no real estate under there, I get the idea because I can see the dump pipe, which actually goes up rather than down.
Yeah, this is sort of a design that I'd seen on some turbo LS setups in the States. Same thing, they had no room to run it anywhere else. A few people sort of freaked out about heat control and things like that, but as a test, I actually cable tied a heat shield in just with plastic cable ties, and even the cable ties haven't melted. So that, I think, is a good enough test that even under racing conditions, nothing's getting critically hot. So.
In the back of it, I can see the wideband O2 sensor sitting there.
Yeah, we are running a wideband O2 sensor for O2 control, and it also does come on the Haltech cluster as well. So I've got constant wideband monitoring on the cluster.
Perfect. On a setup like that's a good thing to have as well. Do you use any engine protection stuff on the O2 sensors?
Yeah, so when we set up the O2, we did use that as a protection input, as well as oil pressure, coolant temp, air temp, and flex input. I believe there was one other input as well.
Perfect. So look, it seems like it's like a nice solid setup, and it has been pretty reliable. It makes, how much power does it make?
Made a best of 481 horsepower on 14 pound.
Yeah, perfect. And you've been racing it like that as well?
Yeah, we have run it down Eastern Creek a couple of times. It's done a best of 12.1, but a race weight's a little over 1,900 kilos, so.
1,900
pretty heavy
kilograms.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you could close enough to 2 tons.
Basically, yeah. So 2 tons is sort of when it gets pretty serious when you're trying to push it down a dragway.
Takes a lot of power to accelerate that much weight. All the wiring harness is factory from which car?
So the engine harness is basically the loom to match the engine, which is a Y32 SEMA.
Right.
Instead of running a new harness, we decided to use the original harness and then add or remove parts as needed. We've run it, the lengths are all pretty well correct because it's basically a larger version of the Stagea that it came from anyway. So we've run the loom inside the car and then re-terminated with a plug and pin kit to suit the Elite 2500.
Perfect, what a nice, neat way to do it. If you've got access to a really good factory harness, There's no need to rewire your whole engine bay. If you can just repin it inside, it's perfect. The VH41 was available in a 2-wheel drive and a 4-wheel drive configuration. What was this engine like when you originally got it?
This was a factory 4-wheel drive engine, so we've retained the factory sump and the front diff. And then going behind that, basically it's a custom adapter plate, custom flywheel, Mantic twin plate clutch, and then mated to a 33 GTR transmission.
Perfect. So there's plenty of it's a strong setup that should be pretty reliable for the power that it's making, and especially the torque that it's making.
Yeah, we're going to sort of limit it at sort of 600 horsepower, hopefully. So
nice. And so with the 4-wheel drive, this has probably got the Nissan Stagea computer. How are you interfacing that, or how are you controlling the 4-wheel drive?
Yeah, we still are using the original Stagea computer, and the Elite 2500 actually puts a scaled TPS out to the Stagea computer, so it's still completely functioning as per a factory car.
Perfect, and you get the right biasing, I guess, from doing that.
Yeah, that's correct. So all the TPS input to the Stagea is as it would have been from the original C34 ECU. So
I noticed that you've got the Haltech Display dash inside. What if we head in there, have a bit of a look at what's on the screen and what you've been looking at while you're driving?
Yeah, let's have a look.
So Ben, in the car, everything looks fairly standard except for the dash. Is this all stock interior?
This is the completely original interior for the RS4S, and just with the addition of the race pack display cluster.
Yeah, for a car of its age, the interior looks really nice. The seats look super comfy.
It was really well looked after, and yeah, because this is the factory manual, it does have a better interior anyway.
Right. And what have we got? So on the Haltech dash, what are we displaying on there, or what do you use every day?
On the everyday face, I've got oil pressure, water temp, kilometers, gear position, AFR, flex and revs.
Perfect. So you can keep an eye on the tune, and I suppose figure out sort of what sort of fuel economy you're getting out of it. Now that you've put a turbocharged V8 in something that did have a 6-cylinder in it, are you noticing any different in that area?
On 98, it's basically the same for double the power. The fuel consumption is quite high on E85, but I guess that's the trade-off when you do go to E85. But the benefit of running the Haltech Flex is you can chop and change for any percentage of ethanol, and you can watch it live on the cluster. Last time I filled it up, I actually left the reds on just to watch it live.
Oh, yeah.
And it does actually change as you fill it up. So.
Well, we've had a look through the engine bay. We know it's 4-wheel drive. We've had a look through the interior. The only question left, can I take it for a drive?
Of course you can, man. Let's go.
All right, perfect. Well, let's get out here into the traffic and just cruise on up. And when it comes on boost a little bit, sounds all right?
Yeah, when it's slightly on boost, it sounds good, and then when it cracks gate, it's pretty loud.
Yeah, it sounds pretty awesome. It's definitely a different way of life. Most people, turbo 4-cylinder or aspirated V8, but when you mix them together, ends up quite the animal.
Yeah, especially being that it was a non-turbo V8 originally.
Love it. You can certainly hear that wastegate open up in the front.
You definitely tell when it opens up.
Yeah, I think it's no secret that I certainly like the Nissans.
Yeah.
And if you've got turbocharged, you've got V8, it's got heaps of torque.
Still all-wheel drive, still manual.
Can tow a trailer if you wanted to.
You could, yeah.
When you're driving this around every day, you've got your pretty little factory boost gauge here. What sort of boost pressure does it run?
7 whatevers.
7 Nissan whatevers.
Yeah, but in real measurements, it runs 12 PSI day to day.
Right.
When we did the 481 horsepower, that was on 14 PSI.
Mate, love it. Right, well, let's park up. Thanks for the drive.
No worries, thank you.
Well, that's it for today. I've had an awesome time driving this turbocharged V8 41 Nissan Stagea around. Benny, thanks so much for bringing your car in and letting us have a look over it.
No, thank you.
As always, thanks very much for watching. My name's Scott, and I'll see you next time.